There's now miles of another lane, from 2 to 3, and the reviews are already coming in.
It's getting better now that they're kind of ending the construction and adding the new lane.
This has been a major project on VDOT's agenda.
So we are very pleased to be able to provide relief and greater reliability for travelers.
Take a look at some of the other projects moving along. The massive multi-million-dollar Watkins Mill interchange along 270 in Gaithersburg, now open and providing easier highway access to residents. In D.C., a drive next to the fast-rising South Capitol Street Bridge, also known as the Frederick Douglass Bridge, shows the progress there. The actual roadway for the bridge now going in, and the structure will open later this year. Brad Carson's been commuting this whole time during the pandemic and loves that a lot of this work is being accelerated.
I think it's a great time to use that. You know, it's like working at night when the traffic is less, but now working during COVID when traffic has been less over the last few months. It's smart to try to expedite those projects.
And road crews are offering congratulations to a lot of these construction workers who haven't taken days off.
We are so proud of our frontline personnel who never stopped working, even during the health emergency.
Here's hoping for a smoother ride. Adam Tuss, News 4.
Now at 5, politics and protest.
Congress prepares to vote on the transfer of power. D.C. braces for protests.
We're asking D.C. residents and people who live in the region to avoid confrontations with anybody who's looking for a fight.
We'll break down the drama on and off the Hill. Tossed away. Doreen Gensler on how the D.C. region is doing on distributing the COVID vaccine and why some shots are being wasted.
And the new timeline for vaccinating more people in our area.
Plus, rude awakening.
This was a thing that caught everybody by surprise.
The unexpected expense for residents of a local senior community.
I'm Tracy Wilkins coming up on News 4. This is how folks started their new year.
News 4 starts now. News 4 at 5 starts now.
And the first Monday of the new year opens a busy and a consequential week here in Washington. Welcome to News 4 at 5. I'm Wendy Rieger.
This is one for the history books, folks. I'm Jim Adley. Tomorrow's election in Georgia will determine the balance of power in the U.S. Senate. Then on Wednesday, Congress is set to certify the Electoral College vote. It's generally a routine step, but this year several Republican senators plan to go rogue.
Meanwhile, D.C. leaders are taking steps to keep the peace during pro-Trump protests that the president has promoted on that day. And as we learn more about his stunning phone call asking the Georgia Secretary of State to overturn his election loss.
We'll be talking with an elections expert about the potential fallout, but we want to begin today with Mark Segraves and the preparations for those protests. Hi, Mark.
Yeah, good evening, Jim. Well, people should expect road closures and traffic restrictions starting tomorrow and lasting for at least a couple of days downtown as the district braces for what could be violent protests. District officials are hoping to avoid a repeat of what happened at past pro-Trump protests where people were stabbed, churches vandalized, and dozens arrested. Larger crowds than attended those previous demonstrations are expected this week after President Trump tweeted his support for what he called wild protests.
It angers me, actually, that any elected official would incite violence, put our city at risk.
Protests are expected at Freedom Plaza, the Ellipse, and the U.S. Capitol over the next few days. Mayor Bowser has requested the D.C. National Guard be activated to help with traffic control. D.C.'s acting police chief is prepared to close Black Lives Matter Plaza completely if it becomes a flashpoint. And he says there are reports indicating pro-Trump protesters may be bringing guns into the city, which is why these signs are being posted.
Firearms are not permitted. I repeat, firearms are not permitted. Anyone in violation of the posted signs, anyone in violation of District of Columbia law will be arrested.
And Mayor Bowser isn't ruling out implementing a curfew if necessary.
To avoid the downtown area and especially avoid people who are coming here to look for confrontations, particularly physical confrontations.
Additional police will be deployed around churches that were vandalized in the past, and police are prepared in case President Trump joins the demonstrators, as he's done in the past driving his motorcade through. But the message from D.C. leaders is clear.
We will not allow people to incite violence, intimidate our our residents or cause destruction in our city.
Now, there will be about 100 to 340 of those National Guardsmen on the streets of D.C. They will only be directing traffic and doing crowd control, and they will be unarmed. Wendy, Jim, back to you.
All right, Mark Segraves live for us. Mark, thank you.
Now let's get to that hour-long phone call in which President Trump pressured the Georgia Secretary of State to overturn an election that Joe Biden won by nearly 12,000 votes.
I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have, because we won the state.
The votes in Georgia have been counted 3 times, and President Trump has lost all 3 times. NBC News has learned the White House made 18 previous attempts to connect President Trump and the Georgia Secretary of State. That call finally happening on Saturday. Let's bring in Ned Foley, the Director of Election Law at Ohio State University and a specialist in recounts and disputed elections. Thank you for joining us, Professor Foley.
Good to be with you.
Is there any way, even for a president, to have authority to pressure a state official to reverse election results? Is this possible and legal?
No, the president has no role to play in this. The appointment of electors is a function of state government under the U.S. Constitution, and the states have had, their voting of the popular vote that led to the appointment of electors and the meeting of the Electoral College on December 14. And the president's a candidate in that election, but has no official role in counting votes or recounts or anything like that.
Well, we have 2 Democratic members of Congress asking the FBI to open a criminal investigation into this phone call. Does the president have any potential legal exposure here?
Well, I do think it's possible to view that phone call as evidence of criminality, but I would caution against a traditional criminal prosecution for this reason. America is at a very fragile moment with the democracy right now. You were talking about all the street protests. It's important to have a peaceful transition of power, and for this congressional meeting on Wednesday to go well. And so we need to make sure that our democracy works, that allows voters to vote and those ballots to be counted and the results to be accepted. The problem, and what the phone call reveals, is the president's unwillingness to accept the fact that he lost this election. That's unacceptable. It's terrible in a democracy when an incumbent tries to cling to power, even when the voters said, no, time's up, it's now the other party's turn. So I think the priority here is making democracy work, both for this year and into the future, and I'm not sure that criminal prosecution helps in that regard.
All right, let's get back to what's coming up this Wednesday with the Congress certifying the Electoral College results. We do have some Republican senators who say they're going to challenge that. Does this strategy have any chance of success?
No. The outcome is clear. Under the law, Congress controls. First of all, under the law, the electors voted on December 14. Their votes are all clear and decisive, as Senator Mitch McConnell himself has recognized, as well as many others. And so we know that Congress on Wednesday, or if it takes into Thursday because of delay in the proceedings, the outcome will be President-elect Biden and Vice President-elect Harris will be officially declared the winners by Congress. That's the outcome. The process may end up a little bit messy because of these objections.
All right. Thank you so much, Professor Foley. That's Ned Foley, who is NBC News election law analyst. There's a lot more on the fallout from this phone call. That's ahead on NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt right after News 4 at 6.
D.C.'s new police chief has a new and stern warning for a new member of Congress. Colorado Congresswoman Lauren Boebert tweeted this video of herself purportedly carrying a Glock handgun on the streets of D.C. and on the U.S. Capitol campus. In this video, she said she plans to carry her weapon everywhere. Acting Police Chief Robert Conti plans to reach out directly to the Congresswoman to explain D.C. laws.
We plan to reach out to the Congresswoman's office to make sure that she is aware of what the laws of the District of Columbia are, what the restrictions are, and that Congresswoman, whoever it is, I guess it was from Colorado, will be subjected to the same penalties or anyone else that's caught on the District of Columbia street carrying a firearm.
Now, members of Congress are allowed to carry guns on the Capitol campus, but not on the House floor. Wendy?
So we are learning more about what it's going to look like as we inaugurate a president in a pandemic. President-elect Joe Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris will be sworn in Wednesday, January 20th. Then they're going to participate in a socially distant pass-in review outside the Capitol. That is where Biden will review the readiness of military troops. After that, there's going to be a traditional presidential escort from 15th Street to the White House. And the Inauguration Committee says there will also be a virtual parade with diverse and dynamic performances from communities across the country.
Well, for the first time in 5 seasons, folks, the Washington football team is heading to the playoffs. All the fans totally called that in mid-November, right when the team was just 2-7. Washington needed that win last night against Philly, and it may not have been pretty, but they did it and captured the NFC East title with that victory. Now the tall task, super tall, of facing 6-time Super Bowl champ Tom Brady and his new team, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Head coach Ron Rivera feeling confident on this Monday, despite many thinking this will be a one-sided matchup.
You know, the old saying goes, all you need is a chance. And so that's what we have, is a chance. There's been a lot of upset victories throughout time. And no bigger or greater upset victory than David versus Goliath. So who knows? We'll see what happens. That's why we'll show up on Saturday night.
And what a season this has been. We've had the pandemic, the head coach's battle with cancer, the quarterback's comeback. The Burgundy and Gold are set to host this playoff game on Saturday night here on NBC4. News 4's Pat Collins has been through the ups and the downs and the downs and the downs of this team over the years. Last night was a real roller coaster, but Washington got the job done. How are you feeling?
Be still my heart, Wendy, but at least it was a win, and a win is a win is a win. You know, I live in a house divided. You see, my wife was a cheerleader for the Philadelphia Eagles. All my in-laws are in Philadelphia. I have a lot of in-laws. And each time the Eagles beat Washington in football, I'd never hear the end of it. It would go on and on and on, sometimes for days. But after last night, no phone calls, no text. There was a symphony of silence in my house. Now, time for the playoff dance.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Dance, dance, dance. If people in our city had a little extra pep in their step today, well, there was a reason for it. You see, for the first time in 5 years, our team is going to the playoffs. Playoffs. And football fans in our city are celebrating. Now, using some COVID caution, I talked by phone to some fans about the big win.
It was like the new year all over again.
A lot of people are happy. Someone said to me they think the curse has been lifted.
The stumbling, bumbling Eagles helped secure the Washington victory. Their backup quarterback, Nate Sudfeld, was like our 12th man. Ex-Washington great Brian Mitchell summed it up this way.
You wonder, why is Nate Sudfeld still in the league? And I think he said last night, Doug Peterson, that, well, he's been here 4 years. Last night, my game ball would have gone to Doug Peterson.
After the Eagles comes Tampa Bay and Tom Brady and hopes of another big win.
Only Tom Brady can stop Tom Brady. Chase Young is a man amongst boys, so in the defense is solid.
Anybody can be stopped. We just need the defensive weapons.
Do we have a chance against Tampa?
Yes, we do. You know, I think the way you look at the fact when we played against the Steelers, no one thought that there was a chance. Then they got into that game and they seemed to make the offense of the Steelers begin to do the things that they wanted to do. I like this defense because a bunch of young guys, and they're playing with a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of confidence.
Now I have my Super Bowl bag here at the ready because you never, ever, ever know. David and Goliath. I'll tell you one thing, though, Jim and Wendy, on Saturday night, there are going to be a lot of people in New York and in Philadelphia and Dallas, a lot of people watching the movies.
You know it. How sweet that is. All right. Hey, you know what? It's a good thing Emily's Eagles moves worked in our favor last night. I'm sure she was doing her own dance.
Exactly. I love those Eagles.
Thanks
Right, now I'll be having cold cereal for dinner.
Yeah, you know that's coming your way.
It's worth it. Hey, today we're asking, so what do you think will happen in Washington's playoff game?
Hey, cast your vote in our NBCWashington.com app. TBD. We're just getting started here on News 4 at 5 tonight. More of us could soon have an opportunity to get the COVID-19 vaccine. News 4's Amy Cho working for you this evening with the updated timeline.
Nearly 20 vehicles vandalized in a senior living apartment complex in Upper Marlboro. I'm Tracy Wilkins, coming up on News 4. This is how folks started their new year. What Prince George's County Police are saying about this incident.
And I'm tracking a storm system right here. It's a real small one, but it's coming through during the day tomorrow. I'll show you what that one's going to bring us and a couple others that could bring us a little bit more. See you back here in just a few minutes.